Hello, today I'm going to do a little foam rolling technique for releasing the glutes, and therefore the lower back muscles will be released with the glutes, and also all down the backs of our tight legs, hamstrings, calves, and even like the side of the hips and the thighs. So away we go. Grab your foam roller, place it crosswise on the mat, and you're going to sit down onto the roller. And I'm going to work my left bum cheek first because it's the one that's closest to the camera. So I'm going to straighten that leg and use my other leg to move me around so that foot is flat on the floor. And I'm just rolling over and back on my sit bone. And then try to go up the top of your bum cheeks, right? Where your glute medius is. It's quite knotty, right? So mine is kind of sore there. It wasn't that sore around my sit bone. Get right up into the upper part of your bum cheek, just where it would attach into the hip bones, right? So not on the bones, just below them, in the meat of the bum. And that's going to help those lower back muscles to release. So you don't have to roll over your sacrum just in case it's kind of sore. So that's why we're kind of just going into those glute muscles. And likewise, if I roll a little bit over onto the side of my hip, the upper bum cheek, side hip area, kind of painful too. So those are your deep 6 rotator muscles. So you can see I've kind of turned onto my side to do this. I'm using this hand to steady me. Abdominals are pulling in gently to hold me. So you're using your good Pilates techniques. Okay. Now, the next thing we can do is go down the side of the leg a little bit. So we're getting into something called the IT band. It can be sore, so one should be really careful with this one. So I'm going to roll over onto my side. If it's very sore, I would recommend getting a soft ball for massaging the side of your thigh. I often don't do it on the foam roller because it's too sore for me. It might be absolutely okay for you. So gently does it. So I'm really pulling my belly in and using my foot that's on the floor, my hand that's on the floor to hold my body weight off the side of my leg so it doesn't become too sore. Right. And you can go down towards the knee, but not over the knee. And then up into the hips. So that's really kind of the back, the glutes rather, the glutes down the side of the hip, the side of the thigh. And then you can roll all the way over. So I'm sticking with that same leg. I'm going to roll down the front of my thigh. Right. So to do that, it looks like I'm kind of doing a plank position, but I'm really balancing more on the thigh that I'm working on. And again, if your quads are really tight, this could be quite painful. You can go all the way up and down the front of your thigh. And you can even go, right up into the hip, over the pubic bone a little, if that's okay for you. And then I might even kind of go somewhere into the middle of my thigh, or into the top of my thick kind of part of my thigh, and I'm going to bend and straighten. And I'm even going to kind of turn my thigh out from side to side. Roll down a little bit further, see if I can find some more knots. And then bend and straighten the leg. It's a little bit of trigger point massage. Keep the knee bent and sort of turn my thigh a little bit in, a little bit out. I'm just kind of wiggling my thigh bone left to right. There's a bit of a knot there when I go to the outside. And then roll down a little bit further. You're just staying in the meaty part of your muscles. You're not going over the bones as such. And find another little knot maybe, and I'll bend and straighten there. And even maybe kind of wiggle, just rotating my thigh bone a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. Now when I go to the outside, it's kind of sore. So I'm going to stick with that area. You find whatever is a little bit sore for you and try to stick with it. Because you'd be surprised that by just rolling over these knots, you actually loosen them out slightly. Okay, then I'm going to come back to the center and I'll do my other leg. So I might flip my roller to the other end of the mat so that you can see me doing the same thing on that other side. So again, sitting the bum cheek that I'm working on onto the roller, and I just kind of rolled up and down over on the sit bone. For me, that's not too sore, but everybody's body is different. So you could be kind of tender in there. Who knows? And then for me, it's much sore at the upper part of my bum cheeks where they would attach into the hip crescent, to the hip bone crescent. So just rolling there. Right. I'm going to look for some knots in there. And we might go back to them in a little while when we're doing more of the backs of the legs as well. So just easing them out a little bit now. And then I sort of rolled a little bit more onto my side. Take it into that kind of side hip area. Also quite pleasantly unpleasant for me. Don't forget to smile when you're doing those really pleasantly unpleasant bits. And deep inhales. Deep exhales. So you try to relax some of the tension while you're working. Right, and then we're targeting down the side of the thigh again towards the IT band. So I'm really rolling onto my side to do this, and I'm using, this balancing leg is above and in front, so the foot is on the floor. Using my hands out in front of me now too, and my belly a lot to hold my body weight off the roller, because you only want to put as much pressure on your muscles as you can tolerate. Right, just pleasantly unpleasant is how I would describe it. If it gets really sore, maybe you're going a little bit too hard. And then I rolled all the way over onto the front of my thigh to get my quads. So again, holding what looks like a plank position, but I am leaning more of my body weight onto the quad that I'm working. So I'm a little bit sort of rolled onto that side of my front right thigh now. It's quite knotty. So you want to go up and down. And I think I started kind of closer to the hip, and you can roll over and back on your pubic bone if it feels okay for you. And then I'm going to stay quite close to where my thigh attaches into my hip socket, and just a little up and down movement. Like you're rolling out some pizza dough. And then bend and straighten. And a little bit of trigger point massage. And then I like to kind of keep the knee bent and just think about turning my thigh gently in and out. Roll down a little bit more. Ooh, that's nasty. So up and down wherever you get those knots. So wherever your knots are, give them a little bit more attention. Don't race through those bits. So I found quite a knot there now. So I'm going to go up and down on it a little bit until I feel the knot release. And then I did my little trigger point massage as well. So just bending and straightening. I'm pulling the muscles and the fascia along over the roller. So it's pressing into it and releasing it slightly. And then I like to keep it bent and just turn my thigh a little bit in, a little bit out. See what I feel when I do that in the knots. And then I just come a little bit closer towards the knee, not on the knee, but just kind of towards the bottom of the thigh. And again, roll up and down a little bit there. That's quite stiff or kind of sore there, so I'm going to work into that a little bit until I feel it loosen out. Pull your belly in, press your fists and your arms down into the floor, and you're kind of dragging yourself along with your upper body strength. I'm disappearing from the camera, so I'm going to move slightly. I got so concentrated on loosening out the muscles. There we go. And so I'm quite close to the bottom of my thigh now, and I might do a few of those little trigger point ones. And then keep the knee bent a little bit and just turn my thigh bone inward and outward. So I'm not really moving my foot or my calf, I'm moving my thigh, I'm rotating my thigh, but you can see the lower part of my leg is waving around, but I'm controlling the movement from the upper part. There's a couple of sneaky little knots in there. You can pull your whole belly in and just go all the way up and down and see if it's made any difference. And sometimes I like to keep my legs in a parallel position, so that I'm rolling up and down the front of my thighs. And then I might even externally rotate my thighs, so that I'm rolling more up the inner line of my thighs. And then I might even try to internally rotate my thigh bones so that I'm getting more the outer edges, and that seems to be quite sore for me. So pay attention again, what feels a little bit more knotty to you, work into it. So I'm keeping that inward rotation of my thigh bones up and down on the roller. And that feels like it's easing out a little bit. So it's very interesting that in a few seconds you can make quite a difference where there were knots before. Alright, I'm going to sit back and then flip over because we're going to do more of the back line of the legs. So sitting back onto my roller again, I'm just going to go for the right bum cheek because it's the closest one to the camera, and I'm doing this one again where I'm kind of going over my sit bones. And again, as I said, I tend to have more knots in the upper part of my bum cheek, so that's where I'm going to stay. Try to find a knot. Right, there's one there. And I'm going to place that foot on the other knee, and then I'm rolling my hips. I'm rolling over onto my hips and then rolling off the hip. So I'm rolling from side to side, which is called cross fiber hatching. And it just helps to get rid of the knots a little bit as well. So if you find any knots and you can tolerate doing this, I'm really supporting myself with my hands and my foot that's on the floor and my belly. So they're helping to control my body weight. So it only has to be as intense as you want it. And I'm going to just find another little knot. So I've got another one there. Same thing. Rock side to side. So if you find that the backs of your thighs are really tight, the front of your thighs, if the side of your hips are getting really sore from walking, this is a really good routine to release the tightness and get more length back into those muscles. And let's try a little bit on the other side as well. Oops, I'm going to find the knot first, so over I go. I can turn my back to you for a little bit so it's okay. You see like the back line. This side is less knotty for me. I'm just going to find one kind of a knot there, it's not too bad, and do the same thing on this side as well, just a little bit of cross fiber hatching so you can see I really roll. Actually when I roll onto it, it's quite sore. So rolling all the way over onto those knots and then coming off it. And it's really sore when I go to the outside edge of my hip because, as I said, we've got these deep rotation muscles in there. They're not worked very much during the day. Every movement that we do is forward and backward, so it doesn't target them, so they tend to be kind of underused and a bit sore. Or maybe they're even overworked in a bad way. Don't forget to smile when you roll over something particularly unpleasant. Yeah. Okay, and then we're going to go down the backs of the legs as well. Right. Now this one, you can try to continue from, let's say I was rolling over the bum cheek. Now I'm going to go into my hamstrings. Right. And I'm just rolling forward and backward. And then I'm going to point and flex my foot. So again, I'm kind of stretching out the muscles and the fascia. And I'm even going to turn my thigh in, turn it out, rotate it inward, rotate it outward. And then see if I can grab hold of the leg. Now you can hold it with the other hand if you need to. Stick your booty out behind you, push your heel away, because that will really stretch the back of that leg. So I'm reaching all the way from my bum that's sticking out behind me to the heel that's reaching away. And then I'm going to roll the roller a little bit more into kind of the middle part of my thigh. And roll it there, same thing. I roll up and down a little bit. I might even pause, point and flex a few times. You can do anything, you even circle your foot around on your ankle because you're just moving all the muscles and the fascia around all the way from the foot up into the hip, so it's very useful. And then I always like to turn in, turn out to get into kind of the inner line tenderness and then the outer side tenderness. And again, can you support yourself with that other hand and try to take a stretch. Right, and you try to hold on with the same hand, same leg, but it's okay if you need to hold on with the other hand. So if you have to, you could swap over, because I think that's actually a little bit easier to hold with the other hand. And then I'm going to roll it, and again, it's not under my knee, but it's lower in my thigh, approaching my knee, but not under the bony knee. And just roll it around in there. Just up and down a few times will do, pointing and flexing. When you're pointing and flexing your foot, you're working all the muscles in your leg right up into your hip. Circling the foot around on the ankle, reverse the circles, and then just turning your thigh bone inward and outward. And again, you might just have a few sneaky knots. It's very interesting when you're rolling around and realizing, wow, I didn't notice that these muscles or fascia were so sore. And then again, I can do another stretch. Ooh, I'm going to lift myself up and stick my booty out behind me. I'm holding my body weight, so it's quite challenging. Really reach the heel of the waist, stick the bum out. Take your crown of your head down towards your thigh. Alright, and I'm going to continue down this leg. Actually, we might do the calves afterwards. So we'll go back and finish the other thigh first. So in the same way, I'm now doing that other thigh. So other bum cheek, rolling over and back on the sit bone. And then just positioning the roller just underneath my bum cheeks, but like in the upper part of the back of my thigh. Roll up and down. Right, that is where your hamstring muscles insert into the bottom of your glutes. That's why it's kind of a sore area sometimes. It's underworked or it's overworked depending on how we're standing. And then I was pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And then, circling it as well. And then turning your thigh bone inward and outward. And then take a stretch. Stick your bum out behind you, reach your heel away, and you should be stretching all down the back of that leg. It might feel quite intense. Roll the roller a little bit further forward so it's more now in the middle of the back of your thigh. And let's roll up and down. See if you can find any knots. Point and flex. Circle. Circle the other way. Turn your thigh bone in, turn it out, turn it in, turn it out. And then again, see if you can take a stretch. Remember what I said, same hand, same leg. I think it's kind of the hardest. So you can swap over and use your other hand for support. And it's not the end of the world if you have to sit on the floor. So that's okay too. So you can kind of sit on the floor. So what I'm doing there is I'm sitting on the floor and I have my leg up. So all of these options are available because I know this might be quite difficult to do. And then the last little bit, I roll it to the very bottom part of the back of my thigh. Stay away from the knee bones. We don't need to roll over them because when you massage your thigh muscles, you actually have a positive effect on your knee joint. Point and flex. Circle the foot around on the ankle. Breathing free. And maybe an internal, external thigh bone rotation. And then that last little stretch. Reach the heel away and stick your booty out behind you. Okay, then using your strength, lift your body weight off the roller. This one's kind of fun, but it's a little bit challenging. Hands are behind me, and I'm just going to roll up and down the backs of my thighs. Right? And again, you can have your legs in parallel, right, all the way up to the bottom of the bum cheeks, all the way down towards the knees, but not over the knees. Internally rotating your thigh bone, so you get a little bit knock-knee looking, and you're rolling over the inner back edge of your thighs, and then turn out. You give me a nice Pilates V, and you'll get more of the outside edge of the backs of your thighs. Now I've got a couple of nice knots in there, so you can just kind of turn in and turn out, whatever feels right for you. So I'm kind of turning inward as I go backwards and turning outward as I go forward, whatever you prefer. And we have lots of lovely muscles in the lower leg as well, and these two can get very tight. So your Achilles tendon is here at the back of the ankle. So let's do something similar for your calves. Pull your belly in, lift your body up. You try to lift your booty and roll the calves. You can take little breaks as you need to. You're really rolling up and down the backs of the calves, and again, they might feel very knotty. And you turn them in and turn them out. Right. A few more times. Take little breaks as you need to, because you might want to just rest your upper body. And if that feels too intense, you could just try to do one leg at a time. So lift the other leg off it and just do one leg at a time. Because it could be that there's loads of little knots in there. You know, they've been hiding in there for many years. You can try pointing your foot as you do that. And then like even turning the thigh in and turning it out. Try the other leg as well. With much less body weight on it. Flex the foot. Roll along the back of your calf. And point the foot. And even turn your thigh in and out. Okay, and then when you're ready, just take a little stretch. You can rest your ankles on the roller, reach your heels away, pull your belly in, and try to really drop your head down towards your thighs. And you're cooked. Nice release for the thighs, glutes, IT band.